Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And if you've seen the title and you've seen the thumbnail, you know that today's video is heavily influenced by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Jingles, whose Game of Thrones series, I believe, is reaching the end of its 5th season for his World of Warships videos. If you haven't seen them, go and check them out. Today, unfortunately, I am going to be the star in my own Game of Thrones episode, where hopefully you can all learn from my stupidity. But let's talk about more of that later on. Let's focus on the Tornvagn. This is possibly the most underrated premium tank, at least an underrated tier 8 premium heavy, because it's bloomin' OP. It's absolutely outrageous. This tank has an incredible frontal turret. It has amazing standard pen of 248, brilliant premium pen of 297. It has 10 degrees of gun depression. The only thing it doesn't have is gun finesse and damage per minute. Everything else about the vehicle is top notch. And this is the kind of tank that just gets into position and it just frustrates the hell out of its opponent. And I think the only reason why this vehicle isn't popular is because it's just a little bit boring. But sometimes boring is good. Sometimes boring gets the job done. This is kind of like the accountant of World of Tanks. Probably not the sexiest of occupations, but definitely stable. Always need accountants, right? And accountants are usually pretty good with money. At least you'd hope they'd be good with money, right? Now, the Tornvagn it's good with winning. It's good with influencing the battle. What more do you need than just to have a vehicle with a big gun, with a lot of flexibility with the gun depression and a lot of pen? Well, how about an XM57, really? Yeah, just shooting me from the back of the map. And I have to admit, I made an absolute meal out of that IS-2 and how I handled that situation. Nevertheless, with the Tornvagn, this vehicle, it was good before it was buffed. Many patches ago, Wargaming buffed pretty much all of the aspects of this tank that just kind of held it back from being, in my opinion, overpowered. They buffed the accuracy from 0.44 up to 0.4, so it's like a 10% accuracy improvement. They buffed the turret traverse dispersion by 20%, so it gets to a stage where you can live without vert stabs, but I would definitely still recommend having snapshots on this tank. But still better to have vert stabs on this tank, but then you have to sacrifice so much. They buffed the turret traverse speed up to 25 degrees from 22 degrees per second traverse, and they buffed the top speed from 32 to 35. And one of the big things that I hated about this tank that they buffed was the view range. It really irritates me in World of Tanks these days, where heavies can just spot at whatever distance without coated optics. And even a vehicle like this that's kind of meant to be a little bit blind on a ridgeline, Wargaming buffed its view range up to 370 meters. It really annoys me that heavy tanks can just take turbos, take durabilities, take gun rammers, take vert stabs, take all of these aspects, even take the vents, right? You know, QuickyBaby special, without having to worry about having bad view range because of the field mod that Wargaming just gave them a 3% boost. So a 3% boost pretty much means you got like 10, 20 meters on everyone else. And that is just such a huge advantage. So you get these heavy tanks that don't have the best of base view range. No one would say 370 meters base view range is incredible. But when you get a premium consumable, you get yourself some fence, you get yourself situational awareness, you get yourself recon. You've got enough view range with that field mod. And so you can just drop the coated optics and just focus on other aspects. And more often than not, it's usually taking like a turbo. So a tank that's meant to be slow and not meant to be able to contest early positions or be able to quickly get away or chase down its opponents suddenly can. And that's World of Tanks for you in 2025. So this tank, it's very, very good. It's just such a consistent vehicle. It's the kind of tank that's never not going to do a good amount of damage, but it's going to be quite rare for it to do an incredible amount of damage unless it gets into one of those games which is just very long-winded. Some great marksmanship here, just pummeling these tier 7 heavies who are frankly in the wrong neck of the woods. I thought they'd be in a platoon, honestly, with how they're playing, but maybe it's just the dumb leading the dumber, I guess, in that scenario. And luckily for me, that's going to get us ahead, because we're not ahead on kills. We're down by a kill here, but we're actually now ahead on 1,500 hit points. So the Tornvagn, is it a vehicle that I would thoroughly recommend that everybody goes and gets? No, not really. It is a little bit boring, as I said. However, there's no doubt that it's just a ruthless vehicle on a ridgeline. Pretty much an impenetrable turret, and even with good upper hull armor and okay kind of mid-plate, the lower plate on this tank is a little bit tragic. With 260 millimeters of frontal hull armor and 50 millimeters on the side, which is enough to avoid being overmatched by anything apart from, you know, like your ISU 152s. So, the Tornvagn. Now up on top of the hill, and the last thing that you want to have is a tank with incredible turret armor and 10 degrees of gun depression above you. And let's be honest, the vehicle that this tank replaces, it's American, it's tier 8, used to be a tier 9, yeah, you guessed it, it's the T-34, right? This vehicle is pretty much just a T-34 with a lot of the weaknesses of the hull just completely removed. And I'm not saying this thing's hull armor is perfect, but everybody knows just how bad the armor is on the T-34. And for the Tornvagn to just have that advantage, especially in a nice matchup against tier 6 and tier 7 tanks, or even just miracle bounces against 8s and some 9s on the hull, it all adds up. And that is why just this vehicle is just so underrated. And again, while I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, if you have an opportunity to be able to pick one up at a reasonable price, you really can't go wrong with a Tornvagn. And I'm just very surprised that I don't see more of them inside the battle. But I guess that just really shows you that we don't just want to play OP tanks. We want to play OP tanks that are autoloaders, or OP tanks that are fast, or OP tanks that are outrageous, right? Nobody really considers that with the Tornvagn. Maybe it's just because it was unpopular in the first place. Was it a loot box tank when it first came out? I think it probably was. But it was only last October, I believe, or was it the October before that? Man, the years just roll into one. During the Murney event, where Wargaming added on a funky style on this vehicle, which, am I using now? Is this the funky Murney style? Possibly. Where they then decided to buff it up and sell it in the same patch. A Wargaming special. At least it wasn't as dirty as when they buffed the IS-3A to actually having an auto-reloader and then put it in loot boxes for the first time. Yeah, good job. Good job, Wargaming, on that one. Never forget, QuickyBaby is like an elephant for misdemeanors. Talking about misdemeanors, what was that FSV doing there? Just drove off an edge and found out that, for some reason, wheels don't do very well when you're falling down slopes. But to be fair, that FSV, it looks like it has quite a low front plate where you will easily hit yourself. Always best to go sideways down those situations. So, look at the situation that we have ourselves in. We're in a 3 versus 7, or should I say a 7 versus 3, because I'm on the team that has triple the hit points of our opponents. We have over doubled the tanks. I was feeling pretty chipper. Look at that. Now it's a 7 versus 2. I got 1,000 hit points. Farm. If I go in, maybe I can get one more shot, get, 6,000 combined, pick up an ace tanker, get 100,000 credits. Job done, right? Easy pickings. Reload an HE for the Scorpion, and then it started to dawn on me with looking to the left and looking to the right, and I was thinking, what kind of a situation have I got myself into here? And while I pull off a 600 damage shell on the Scorpion, I was starting to get a little bit nervous at that point. Now, I made the quintessential mistake of thinking that it was the farm when it wasn't the farm. And this is why my Twitch stream always makes fun of me when I say, oh, this is losable, this is close. Because I'm really trying to instill it in my mind that I could throw the game if I play loot, just like I have here. And now, unfortunately, the 7 versus 2 is now a 5 versus 2. And we have an IS on our team saying, help, 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 help. That was quite alarming as well, as to why is the IS saying help, 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 help in this scenario. Oh, we'll have to see in a second. So unfortunately, the ELC drove in, like me, like a bit of an idiot, and yeah, there we go. That's where one of our 7 versus 2 is unpainted, stuck, and has unfortunately 600 of the hit points that we have left, which kind of means that it's a 3 versus 2, and our Stura Mill unfortunately isn't very healthy at the back of the map. Our T45 or our 45 TP is unpainted, and our Borsig is unpainted as well. Not good signs, boys and girls. if there's one thing that shows me you're a bad player, it's if you don't paint your tank. Because somebody who doesn't want to do things as simple as add things to their vehicle in the garage that literally just makes them better. And you can get so many stars for free from taking part in events or just getting things like Twitch drops from streams. You should have more than enough styles for the vehicles that you play. And if a player doesn't really care about making their tank good, they're usually not caring about trying to make my win ratio good. Now you can see, I have to admit, I might have been playing up a little bit for the stream. Go, kill Scorp on the right. I say IS is stuck. Oh dear. Oh, this is just pure quintessential, right? Sweaty Unicorn drives in with 6,000 combined to try and get a little bit more and get an ace tanker, and then plays Armchair General to tell their team exactly what to do. Can you believe the 45 TP had just an opportunity to go in and kill the Scorpion and just sat there? So now, ladies and gents, our 7 versus 2 is a 3 versus 2 with, unfortunately, our IS stuck. Our ELC calls people bots, and I say, ELC, you can't talk, you ignored the Scorp. Me too. So I'm pointing the finger at myself, and oh god. Ladies, oh, the Sturmil misses! The Sturmil misses! Oh, he's got a longer reload than the Scorpion, it's all... It ain't over, ladies and gents. And that is because it looks like the Scorpion on the enemy team didn't realize that the Sturmil was using the stock 105mm gun. And so by coming round the corner there and trying to shoot the Sturmil, who they thought had an ultra long reload with that 128mm, it didn't work out for that Borsig. And whoo, with the T-34 100 and the Scorpion G on the enemy team picking up 6 kills between them, we were literally a second away there from possibly what could have been one of the biggest throws that I have seen. And luckily, it's the final tank that makes the biggest throw, right? And that was the Scorpion in this case, but I can't blame them. They weren't to know by the Sturmil was using the baby gun. And oh my word, just I can only imagine what the IS was thinking there. And this is what's important in World of Tanks. Not to be like the ELC even 90, but show the humility, you know? The ELC ignored the Scorpion. I ignored the Scorpion. I deserve to lose this game. Luckily, I didn't. This was a high caliber for our 5,500 damage, a Confederate for dealing damage to at least 6 tanks that were subsequently killed by our allies, and a tank sniper for dealing a lot of damage beyond 300 meters, something this vehicle probably couldn't have done until it was unnecessarily buffed by wargaming. And as this happened during the Christmas event, a cool 237,000 credits profit. So all in all, once again, a massive shout out to Jingles for their legendary Game of Thrones Warship series. I really thought that I was going to join the mix here as a completely greedy little unicorn. And the Tornvagn, honestly, it deserves a way better win ratio difference than it has. I think this vehicle is bonkers good if you set it up correctly. And I think the only reason why we don't see this vehicle further and further up this list is maybe people are getting bored and they're not willing to just sit in that position, control that position with a god tier hold down Swedish heavy, where this beast, wow, it can be truly oppressive. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for me today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know your confession of your most embarrassing throw of all time. What did you do and what went wrong? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.